tell me it's a walk in the park. Y'all too smart, can't talk from the heart. I got sauce and it's all for the charts. No aux in the car. Riding around bumping that first blueprint on this. I ain't trying to hear what the info is. I been trying to move on the impulsive tip. Do you want dip? I can tell you ain't having that much fun. 3 years in with your ex-boyfriend, y'all tied that knot, but it's back undone. Oh yeah, I'm trying to stack 1 ton. You ain't gotta ask where that come from. I ain't never rock no pack, son. I was on the pack at the mall, same mess. I skip class, no hallway pass. I'm team cap, you was always last. She got good hands in the all-state. I got good kids and they all came fast. I ain't gotta say it, you can come to the village. Just ask who's hot, they gon' all say Jack. Told me stay down, but I always have. When I come around, man, they always ask, how does it feel? Whoa. Ain't shit, tell me it's a walk in the park. Y'all too smart, can't talk from the heart. I got sauce and it's off the charts. Started my night with the light. When I got to the club, I was off for the dark. And I'm on a wave like a dolphin and shark. Y'all took shots, they was off for the mark. Keep it raw from the start.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tigers Tonight. I'm your host, John Maddox, and we have upgraded the program, if you will. We have taken a step forward as tonight we have the All Hernando, Mississippi edition of Tigers Tonight. As of course, best co-host in all the land, Larry Marley from the palatial Marley Manor here in Hernando, Mississippi. Larry, how are you? Yeah, it's been fun. Yeah, absolutely joined tonight in place of Ryan Moss, who's on assignment, as we like to say, is the one and only Landon Speck. Landon, how are you, sir? Right? Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is one of those. I'm not into basketball as much anymore, but used to. This was my thing with basket. Like this is the greatest time of the year because you have basketball and football and the NBA and everything's just kind of the NFL's getting to where, as we call it, nut cutting time. But all right, so we were off last week, but the Tigers probably licking their wounds a little bit. They fell to East Carolina 31-27. And Landon, want to start and get your thoughts on how that game played out. Oh, there I am. Yeah, yep, there I'm good. Yeah, well, we'll see. All right, Landon. Thanks to the chat for keeping us on the straight and narrow. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. We've been good the first few weeks, and it seems like the last couple weeks we had audio issues. But Let's see. I don't. Let me do this. Let me remove you guys. Oh well, that might help if I actually added you guys to the scene.
Hey, there we go. That's there's the problem.
Well, apparently, Jeb, I'm the turkey that needs to be fried on.
There we go.
Hey, I
Okay,
think you
how's
get. I think you
it
get a pass for everything you've been through lately.
I appreciate
you've
that.
had- you've had
a
rough-
Landon, let's
So,
kind of
Landon, you go. Landon, why don't you
reboot.
hop back in and talk about East?
Landon, tell us what you thought about the East Carolina game.
Yes. So the East Carolina game, as we've already talked about, but none of y'all heard, so we'll go back over it. The East Carolina game went pretty much exactly how I thought it would go, and Larry was just talking about it, and I think it was a game where Memphis played pretty well, but in the key moments of the game, they didn't do what they needed to do. Now, if you're just going to look at what East Carolina did well, they threw the ball all over the yard. They got whatever they want in the passing game, and that's been a common theme against Memphis's defense. I saw a lot of the same issues that I saw against UAB specifically, where they would catch Memphis and a key third down playing just a soft zone, and they would be able to easily find the spots in the zone. And that's really what happened on the go-ahead touchdown with a little over a minute left. East Carolina hit a seam ball, which, man, if you've watched Memphis Tiger football, Memphis can't cover the seams. I don't know why they haven't been able to do it all year long. They'll get caught in a one high zone, and the quarterbacks have been able to hit that spot all year. It doesn't matter who it is; they've been doing it all year, and that's
Our
what ECU did.
don't get deep enough. Landon,
True.
is what's going on.
Backers struggle in coverage for sure.
Right, because if you've watched all year, one of the problems. So last year, if you go back to last year, what we had, because you had Martin who was all over the field, but I don't know about that, Jeb. But I think we are better in some areas. But linebacker coverage in zone has been bad all year.
It's been bad all year. That's right.
So Landon, you know this as well as I do. So when you're playing a single high zone, one of the things that you've got to have, in order to take away the underneath, the linebackers have got to get deep enough to where they can sort of take away that cross the middle. And what's not happening, because there's no way that your safety can cover both sides.
True.
It's just impossible. And so they've got to take that away. We have not been, all year. So here's my question, because you've nailed it. If we know we can't do that, why do we keep playing it?
Yeah, beats me. I've wondered all year long. I thought Memphis has played way too much cover 3. You can say they've played too much zone, whatever you want to do, but you can mix up zone coverages. You can play a match zone if you want to. You don't have to come out and play cover 0 man to man. But like you said, you can't keep playing stock vanilla drop spot cover 3 zone, and it's insanity.
It just seems like there's been no creativity.
That's
the word. Like there's just been no. One of the things when Coach Hankins took over in that Iowa State game was he put a game plan in 11 days that stopped a Big 12 team and put them at 0 yards rushing.
It's 2 NFL receivers, by the way.
Yeah.
That was a good offense.
That was a really good offense, and they got what they wanted in the passing game, but that's fine. But you go back and you look at that, I think maybe instead of saying it's no better, I would say our defense is no different today
That's
than
fair.
it was the last week of August. And,
Right.
And, we've seen it time and time again, but then flip it around twice in the East Carolina game. Duke Cooper got caught in man and got killed. And
He got shredded against Tulane too.
and so you look at that and you're like, well, what do you do? Well, there's lots of things to do. You can, disguise things a little better. You don't have to come out and all of us sit there and look at it and go, oh, well, yeah, here we go, cover 3 again. Does Memphis have a zone blitz in their arsenal? There's just no, I don't know. It seems very vanilla. I think the word you use. It feels like a really.
I will say about Hankins, what he does is it's a 3-3-5, and he does some of the weird 3 safety stuff where it'll be 3 high safeties, and he does try and disguise who's playing what zones on the field. Now, a problem they've ran into is he'll have the wrong guys with the wrong assignments. Like he'll have a guy aligned dang near at Mike linebacker, 5 yards off the ball. Like I've seen this happen with DeMarco Ward. He would be in the box and he would be responsible for the deep middle third, or he'd have the middle safety buzzing all the way to the shallow flat. Like it's just there'll be guys that are aligned out of position from the start, and they just don't really have a chance.
Well, let's look kind of more at this game
Yeah.
as well. And
Mm-hmm.
you look down the stat line here, and my big thing with Memphis this year has been, spreading the ball around from a passing perspective. Well, great news. They had 12 different receivers.
They did.
Well, but of 33 catches, Bram has 9, and nobody else has more than 3. So I think, though, part of that was they said Braham Cortez is not going to beat us. You may catch 9 balls, you may get 80 yards, but you're just not going to be the guy that beats us. And you look around, and it's kind of become a thing. Well, this week you had Greg had 12 touches. Sutton has 9 touches. I think you look at this game, and it is kind of a microcosm, right? It kind of does just say, if you said, you know what, Memphis football 2025, there it is. They have, and I want to talk about this too. You're playing Braden Lewis, who is banged up, who has said he's injured, who is hurting. And then my whole thought process around that is, well, number one, if he's hurt, why are you putting him out there? That's my first thing. And number two, and maybe more importantly for the future, what are you saying to Arrington Maiden and AJ and AJ when you say a 60% Lewis is better?
I don't think he's saying that, John. I don't believe that. Well, I think what he is saying is that there's a lot more to this, in my opinion, than just who's the most healthy. I think you've got leadership things going on here. I think there was some concern there at various points, and I think there's also some concern with how would these guys react in a really, really rough environment, and because ECU is probably the toughest road environment in the AAC, right?
It is.
And so I think in that sense, I think what he was trying to do is probably protect some young quarterbacks there. That's my humble opinion. Now I get where you're coming from. Why not put them out there? Let's put it a different way. If you want to say, Larry, why didn't he give Arrington Maiden or Hill three or 4 possessions in this game? I'll listen to that because you're probably right.
All right, Landon, I'm going to put it like this. You apparently, you and Sam Shoemaker are apparently hoopers. You guys are the basketball guys in town.
Some people say that.
It's been alleged. How do you get better and we're just, generalities here. Are you going to get better at basketball playing me and Larry? Or
respectfully, no, absolutely not.
And I think Larry, that's my comeback to that is you got to do it at some point. No, and Landon, you played the position, and I'm sure you spent some time on the bench. No offense.
Yeah, but, I did.
But when you look out there, although you were behind a couple good players, but like if you're out there and a guy's hurt or he's struggling, and don't at some point you go, what's going on? Like, what more do I have to do?
Right. I think that's fair to wonder. I also think I could see both sides. That's all I'll say about it.
Yeah.
Because like Belu, it's been established since spring. Belu's our guy. Yeah. He's a quarterback. It's not like there was ever. I know we may have talked about it a little bit over the summer, but there wasn't a second that went by over the summer that Brendan Lewis was not going to be the starting quarterback for Memphis.
Right.
And that's just what it is.
Yeah, he doesn't transfer in as a senior to sit on the bench.
Right.
And let's just say it. He doesn't get paid to be here.
Yeah.
To sit on the bench. Okay. So let's just say that.
So you take.
I get what you're saying, John, and I think the way to handle this would have been because Maiden didn't get nearly enough touches in this game. I think that he should have had more plays, more possessions, or if you want to give Hill the possession. Look, I'm wide open to both. I liked what we saw from Maiden in Tulane.
I've really liked what Arrington's done in his limited snaps this year. Truly, I have. Like, I'd be comfortable with going into next season with him as your guy.
Yeah, I mean, me too.
Mm-hmm.
From what we've seen.
And
right.
Another thing that you take away Sutton's 84-yard run, And Memphis is what? That's 160-ish yards. I'm doing math here in my head. 156 yards, something like that on the ground on 32 carries. And that's something I think that you've seen, that is the one thing I think that Belu does probably better than Maiden or Hill. And not saying he's a better runner, but I think he has a better feel for the game. And so
Yes.
a banged up Lewis hurts you in two areas. It hurts you in the passing game, obviously, but it hurts you in the running game. And again, I'd have to go back and look, but it's weird to me that Sutton will get like 2 or 3 touches, and by the time you get to the fourth quarter, he's on a milk carton.
The Sutton Greg split has made no sense to me all year.
Yeah, none.
I understand, when Ryan answers the questions, I understand, but it's like I feel like if I'm an offensive coordinator or a head coach, I want my best playmakers on the field as much as possible, and if that means playing the two of them together more than they have, then so be it. But Sutton's lack of playing time has been pretty confusing to me.
Well, especially when we were told that the whole reason behind this is they want to keep him fresh for punt returns and kick returns.
Yeah,
That sounds great. That nobody's returning kicks, and I think he's had 2 or 3 good. He's had a couple good punt returns, but I just but again, this was just the microcosm of the year, right? It's just how you look at it and you look at the stat sheet. Now it's not Syracuse Notre Dame weird, but you look at it and you're like, well, gosh, Memphis had more yards. Memphis had 10 more minutes time of possession in this game. Memphis had more, not more first downs. Memphis was 3 of 4 on fourth down. Memphis ran 75 plays. You look at this, you're like, well, Memphis wins this game 34-21. And then you look up and you go, there we are. And it's just
this was a game that Memphis, it was the total flip from the USF game, where USF was in complete control on the stats and everything else, but Memphis wins the game. This was the complete opposite. You felt like Memphis was controlling the ball more or less from the ground. We controlled the game. Until the very end, we really weren't behind, and yet we lost. It's weird, right? But this goes to show you exactly what we've been saying. And also, we didn't have that many penalties. We didn't have that many pre-snap or penalties in general.
Yeah. And it wasn't a turnover thing either.
No, it wasn't.
It was just weird.
Turnover. This was strictly a fact of Memphis got tight at the end of the game. So we go 4th and 4. We don't get it. That's the 1 4th down. We don't get it. Turn the ball over on downs. Should have kicked the field goal there. We're not gonna. But anyway, we should have. But anyway, we then forced the turnover, right? And we get the ball. Would we get the ball on like the 20-yard line, 18-yard line, something like that?
Something like that.
And you've got, I don't care if you've got to go down there your damn self and drag those guys. You've got to get in the end zone somehow. I don't know how. I don't know what. Somehow you got to cook up something and you got to score a touchdown there. You cannot kick a field goal in that spot because you score the touchdown there. Now all the pressure goes back onto East Carolina. We choked right there. That was the game. Just like with Tulane, where we got down, we had the ball, could have tied, and we just didn't make the plays in the fourth quarter.
We're talking here about the Memphis running game and Greg and Sutton and Belu. And I look out over at East Carolina, and Montgomery had 27 carries for 103 yards. Does there come a point with a running game, and I understand Memphis wants to be dynamic, where you have to have a dude? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's my favorite John Madden of all time, where he said, you need a guy like Leroy Horde, where it's 3rd and 3 and you need 3 yards. Hand it to Leroy Horde, he's going to get you 3 yards. It's 3rd and 8 and you need 8 yards. You're going to hand it to Leroy Horde and get you 3 yards. But you need a guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need a guy. And I just feel like as explosive as Memphis is, they don't have other than Braham. And now with Cortez, you've got a banged up Belu, right? So now that connection's going to, we saw it at the end of the UAB with Maiden missing the pass. Like,
That's Tulane, but yeah.
Tulane, yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You've got to have a guy at some point as explosive as you are, and you've got to be able to turn around and hand somebody the football on 4th and 2 and pick up 3 yards. And
Yep.
I
Or you
think,
got to have a play to get
yeah, you've talked about that a
2
lot,
yards,
Larry.
whatever that looks like.
Yep. So
You got to have a play. So I'll give you a great example of this, of exactly what you're talking about. Okay, so let's go back, roll the clock back. Norvell's last year, we're playing Ole Miss. It's 4th and 2. We're in Ole Miss territory, right? We get the first down, game's over. He has a play. I think they threw a little throw out. I think Brady threw it to Gainwell out of the backfield, but it was their play, and it got the first down. Game's over. We kneel on the ball. Everybody goes home happy. You've got to have 3 things. Okay, you've always got to have this. You got to have a play to get you a short first down. You got to have a play to stop the team on 3rd and short, and you got to have a defense to stop a team on 3rd and long. You got to have those 3, and you got to know what they are.
yeah,
And I've said that since we've been doing this show for a long time, and I've been saying that you always have to have that. Okay, what it is.
yeah. Well, I want to talk a positive here. Has there been, we were worried about Chandler Martin, when he obviously he's an NFL player. How about Sam Brumfeld?
Yep.
How about that dude? I mean,
Yep.
every week it's like, 12 tackles. Huh. Who knew?
Right.
Huh. But one thing about this game, Memphis only had 4 tackles for loss. And that was that was something I felt they really needed to do a better job of. But Rusall and Sam Brumfeld, I mean, yes, there's been drop off, obviously, but man, what a great year. And he made some big plays in that game. And, I think Memphis has a lot of problems on the passing side of the football. But, especially because what you can't do is you can't ask Brumfeld to drop back and cover Smith, right? Like you can't say, all right, here's going to be their number 1 wide receiver coming across the middle. So you're going to have to go step for step with him through the zone, and you can't ask him to do that. But I shudder to think where Memphis would be this year without Brumfeld. I don't think it would be 8-3. I think they'd be in a lot worse spot than that.
You know what's crazy? At the beginning of the year, I predicted Memphis to be 9-3, and we can go back. I can walk you through it. I did. It hasn't worked out, but if we win, we will be. And I'm not happy about this. I'm not. But the reason I'm saying all that, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, the reason I'm saying all that is I cannot tell you how many times I've had to deal with somebody on what's Twitter or whatever, X, whatever it is, telling me that Silverfield's terrible, he should be fired. And I'm like, guys, this is exactly the record that I thought we would have. And you guys are losing your damn minds over it. I got it.
Well,
we're right where
maybe you should be fired. Maybe that's where.
well, yeah, okay, that's fine. I can live with that. But that doesn't. But my point is, like, everybody's. We're going to talk about this, I know, in a minute. But this is exactly the spot where I thought we would be. Exactly.
I agree. I completely agree.
Well, I said at the beginning, and we'll actually go into this more next week, but I said, we're going to lose either Troy or FAU because I thought they would drop one of those 2 games. And then I had East Carolina as a loss.
You did.
Out of the gate because it's a terrible place to go play late in the season. Great fans, great fan base, but just not a great spot for Memphis with, then you're coming off Tulane. Now you got to do this. And it wasn't a good spot. So, but speaking of good spots,
yep.
Let's bring in wait, are you undefeated? We still going?
Has it rained this year? Has it rained on a game this year?
I don't think so. So we're going to go.
I think I'm undefeated.
Undefeated. Right. Eric Prosius from MemphisWeather.net. And I think, Eric, we gave you a softball this week. A couple of reasons. Number 1, it's 48 hours before. Number 2, it's at home. And I haven't looked in the last little bit, but I think we should all be, it's the Thanksgiving season. We should be thankful that this game is on Friday.
Yes, it is. It is on Friday.
Or on Thursday, rather.
You threw me a loop there because I swear it was on Thursday, and then you said Friday, and yeah. Good, because I have your Thursday forecast. So if you're going to the game Friday,
Yeah.
Can't help you. You got other problems to deal with. The Thursday forecast for Thanksgiving Day is looking cool, but very, very much like fall football weather. We are looking at sunny skies during the day, northwest wind. Tailgating in the afternoon, we're looking for a high only around 50 degrees. Game time, I believe, is 6:30, and that puts the temperature around 44. By the time the game ends, we'll be in the upper 30s, but the wind will be dying off. So sounds to me like if you have a heavy coat, a set of gloves, or something like that, you should be, in pretty good shape for that game that evening.
That's going to be a hard no from me. These old bones don't handle cold weather very well.
I think it's beautiful. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
You look, when you get to 50, you will not think it's beautiful.
All right, Eric. Thanks for the great work all season long. So, let's share your.
You got one
Yeah,
more
let's
game.
go.
You got one more
Yeah.
game.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'll be a soon to come bowl game. But so this is a busy travel season, and while we've got you on here, let's talk a little bit about the Thanksgiving travel and kind of where maybe some storms might be putting you on the spot a little bit, some travel hotspots.
Yeah, sure. Well, the next couple of days, actually through Friday, for the entire region is going to look really good. This is we've got our weekend forecast for Memphis up here, and you do see the temperatures are quite cool. We will be seeing rain on Saturday, starting to move in from the west. Farther up to our north, we will see some snow out of that in the Midwest and moving across the Great Lakes. But for here, rain will be starting to move in and increasing during the day on Saturday. Most of that is going to be Saturday night. Could get a few showers left over Sunday morning, but it should dry out. That system's going to be moving to the east. So if you're headed east or northeast from here on Sunday, then we're going to be looking at driving back into that rain. But no big severe thunderstorm risks or anything like that. Should be mostly just rain here. So we'll take it, and hopefully those temperatures stay up just enough that we don't have to worry about any winter shenanigans.
Yeah,
So-
no shenanigans. Because if you shenan once, you'll shenan again. Eric, tell us how people can follow you.
All right, I'm going to give a plug for the blog and the website today. I did just put up a new blog post shortly, a few minutes ago, about the weekend forecast for the holiday, as well as the odd wind event that we had overnight last night. A little bit of deep dive into that. So go to memphisweather.net on the web. Our blog is there. You can make that into an app on your phone. Of course, we're always on social media at Memphis Weather 1.
Awesome, my friend. Thank you so much all season, and we will, of course, be back around when the bowl game is announced.
Sounds good. We'll be looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Eric Proces, memphisweather.net, as we await our special guest, Mike James from the Mid Report, who will hopefully be joining us here in a few. Well, boys, kick the tires and light the fires. It's Navy week. It is time for Memphis and Navy. And I said this earlier today. I feel like Memphis, one of the big things that we lack in this conference are rivals. You know what I mean? Like true dyed-in-the-wool rivals. The two closest things I think we have to those are Tulane and, to a much lesser extent, Navy. So I propose that Memphis and Navy play the first conference game of every season. Am I muted?
There's nobody that I hate.
No, you're good, John.
Yeah, but we're picking. Well, some of the fans.
I mean, like Tulane fans are annoying, but they're not. I mean, they're not like. Look, they're not Louisville fans. Like, let's be. I mean, they're not Cincinnati fans. They're annoying.
But I think that what you need in a league like the American is you need bell cows. You need something to hang your hat on. So Memphis and Navy open the season every year because if you ask whoever the Memphis coach is, would you rather play Navy in September or November? The answer is always going to be September. And
early, yeah.
Tulane should always be that's because we did that thing with Houston for a while until they chickened out and decided they didn't want to do the Black Friday thing anymore.
Yeah, because they were getting their ass handed to them.
And but I just think that that's something because once you get past Tulane and Navy and Memphis and maybe USF, like there's not a lot of what I call appointment television going when you look at the thing as a whole, you have appointment. television.
No, look. Memphis Tulane is a great game because those are two similar, I guess now teams, but you're right. Like this is so you guys. So like you guys know, I love the Navy week. I love it. It's my favorite week, and I know it's not yours, John, but I love it because it's from a player standpoint. It's so different from all the other teams that we play, and when you if you're a competitor, you want to do something different, right? I mean, a new challenge. Because what we talk about, and Mike, I see Mike's joined us. What do we talk about? Memphis struggles with the pass defense. Okay, well, Navy presents a whole different challenge on the passing side of things.
And to make this a much-watched podcast, we bring in longtime friend of the program, Mike James from the Mid Report. Mike, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great, John. How are you?
We're doing good. We're doing good. So it's we'll get into the game in just a minute. I saw a tidbit earlier today, and one thing Memphis, Ryan Silverfield talked about this, that Navy ran 24 plays last year that they had no idea was coming, and he said we went back and we watched Mercer film because that's where Drew Cronick was before. I saw his name floated for UAB today. He's a much smarter guy than that, right?
So what's funny about Drew Cronick is that he will unsolicited tell you how much he has no intention of ever leaving the Naval Academy. And there are a variety of reasons for that. I think for him, it's just he's very family oriented. He has a son that's on the team now. He's he has his idea of what he wants to get out of coaching is very, very old school. He's about development. He's about, just the place. I'll tell you this much, given all the news that's been circulating around about UAB, I would have him on the list too. Just because I think it's pretty obvious that they desperately need a culture guy, someone to kind of ground the program a little bit, ground that locker room. But no, every time he talks, he comes up on the on his weekly his weekly Zoom calls. He'll go out of his way unprompted and just say, "Yeah, I'm not leaving here. I hope I'm coaching here for the next 20 years." So
Yeah.
so I feel
Well, Mike,
good about that.
when you talk to him, tell him that no, just don't.
See, that was my thing. I saw UAB.
That is
like,
not.
I was like, no,
Look,
I don't.
I hope he gets a great job. That's not it, okay? And just
Not
that's
the
not
American.
it.
But anyway, all right. So on to football. So I hope everybody's sitting down. Navy leads the American Conference in rushing this year, right? Who would have thunk it? But I've noticed, Mike, things have been. I think Navy caught some people off guard last year. They caught a lot of teams because Drew Cronick was new, and it's a fun offense to watch. And I think it's obviously going to present challenges on Thursday. But what are some of the tweaks Navy has seen this year that makes it a little different than 2024 Navy?
Actually, one of the funny things about this year is that they did, if you think about Navy teams of the past, you're like, yeah, of course they're leading the conference in rushing. That's what Navy does. But that's not what Drew Cronick set out to do. I think he was actually a little bit surprised at the fact that they are leading the conference in rushing because he kind of expected to throw the ball a little bit more this year. But when you look at what happened last year, and some of this stems back to 2023, where Navy's offense was so bad that a lot of teams kind of figured, well, the defense we used against these guys in 2023 will be able to recycle it because it worked so well. Well, it worked so well because the scheme wasn't very good, and now with Drew Cronick, it's a whole different animal. And so it did catch guys off guard. And I think one of the things that caught them off guard last year was how much Navy threw the ball, and not just how much, but how they threw the ball. It used to be everything was based off of play action, but that really wasn't the case last year. And what we've seen so far this year is that a lot of teams aren't as aggressive against the run with Navy, or they haven't been, at least to start the year. So safeties have been backing off in coverage, and that's opened up the running game, which is why Navy's run the ball a little bit more. Now, there are exceptions to that, and we've seen teams decide to challenge Navy, and we saw that from Air Force. We saw USF do it. They put 8-9 guys in the box to kind of dare Navy to throw over their heads, and I think the difference this year is that Navy's been able to do that. I think there are plenty of Navy teams that might not have been so confident in the pass game. But you go back to the Air Force game, Navy threw when critical plays were on the line. You're talking about game clinching fourth downs, just critical situations. Navy's turned to the passing game, and I just don't think. I wasn't ready to see it. I mean, that's not something I'm used to. I just don't think defensive coordinators have been ready to see it either. So I think that more than anything, I think is the big schematic difference with Navy.
So one thing that jumps off the page at me as I'm looking through stats here, Navy has 3 of the top 5 rushers in terms of yards per carry. Braxton Woodson, Brandon Chapman, and then it's been late, Eli Heidenreich. And I think that, to me, and Landon, I'll let you kind of follow up this, but that's the challenge to me for Navy is you've got Taseka, you've got everybody knows you've got Horvath, but it just seems like you just have home run hitter after home run hitter. And I think that's probably what Drew Cronick was most excited about, is having so many home run hitters.
Yeah, one of the benefits of that is just making it so it doesn't have to be Blake Horvath carrying the ball 30 times a game. I think if you go back to last year, Navy's offense kind of fell off a little bit around game 6, game 7. They kind of hit a lull just because Horvath was banged up. He took a shot to the ribs in week 4 against UAB, and that injury kind of nagged him the rest of the season. And I think even going back to this spring, a lot of these guys sat out just so Navy could develop depth. And so what you're seeing is more and more guys are getting carries and getting touches. And Heidenreich has been a big focus for a lot of teams because he's the do everything guy, and he's the leading receiver. He's averages, like you said, he's one of the yards per carry guys when he touches the ball in the run game. But when teams have focused on him, Brandon Chapman's been a beneficiary. We've seen even against USF, Blake Horvath cramped up towards the end of the game. Then Braxton Woodson comes in and has a 100-yard rushing game just off of 3 drives. So they're just the depth of so many ball carriers, I think, is what sets this particular Navy offense apart from other iterations we've seen over the years. And it's why they're sitting where they are. They still have a shot at competing for the conference championship game. Need some help, but that was kind of what the focus was going into the season, and heading into Thanksgiving, and it's still on the table.
Yeah, I think the coolest part about Navy deciding that they're going to start throwing the ball like they have are guys like Eli Heidenreich, who I think is one of the coolest players in college football because he's ran for almost 400 yards. But like you said, he's the leading receiver in the team. He has over 700 receiving yards. So I think between guys like him and Chapman and Alex Texa, even on occasion, all these guys, whether they're lined up at those classic, A or B back wing alignments and the flex bone, or if they get in gun and decide they're going to air it out, well, no matter where they're aligned, they can either they can hand it to him, they can throw it to him, and they've unlocked all these different versatile chess pieces that it's just a headache for defense. It's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, and the thing about Heidenreich that's kind of crazy. I don't know if this says more about what Navy's doing now or just about Navy history, but against USF, he became Navy's all-time career receiver, and he's easily within the next couple of games probably going to get the single season mark too. The single season mark is only 818 yards, but that's a mark
that's crazy.
That's a mark that was set back in 1967. So it tells you a little bit about what Navy history is, but I also think it's a reflection of him, and
Yeah,
also
but you
like
had
Drew Cronick
Roger
is
damn Staubach at
different era, man, different era.
Different times for sure.
Yeah, but I think that it kind of is a great representation of how different Drew Cronick is when you look at this offense, because it's it's not a triple option offense. It's just not. It's they run the triple option, but it's not one of those offenses where everything starts with a triple and just kind of works from there. If anything, it's probably more gaps game. You look at power read or something and then kind of go
Yeah.
from there. It's different. It's the same things that make the triple work are why it works here, because it's all about repetition and being able to put guys in a system that you can develop them over 4 years and get them executing at a high level. But yeah, it's a different offense, and I think because Navy ran the triple option, they had a lot of players that already fit in well with what Drew Cronick wanted to do, and so I think it's been easy for Navy to kind of pick up with what he was doing and kind of hit the ground running.
So switching to the other side of the ball, you've got a very solid group of linebackers, and they all run to the ball really well. Talk to me, and when I watched them, I mean, you could see even against a USF team that's probably athletically superior, your linebackers dominated the edges of that game. Talk to me about Parker and I don't know if Cauley, and I don't know how, is it Purist? Is that how you say his name?
Luke Pierce, yeah.
Yeah. That and Campbell's had a good year too.
Yeah, so Navy has a lot of defenses do this now, but Navy has a couple of they have two inside linebackers, and then they have kind of hybrid positions on the outside. So they have what they call the Raider, which is that hybrid, edge rusher type, and then they have the striker, which is the hybrid linebacker coverage, safety.
Right. Monster
Um,
man.
yeah, and so the interesting about this group is that on the outside at the Raider and striker positions, those were pretty established guys. Pierce was established, Jackson Campbell and Kenny McShann both at striker. They're both established guys. They both had great seasons last year. It's that inside that's been kind of the question, and these are young guys, and Mark Anthony Parker is only a sophomore, but physically you look at him, the way he runs the
Right.
ball. And one of the things about Brian Newberry and PJ Volker and how they and their defense is that everyone has to be able to do everything. So especially at that position, you have to be able to
No
drop in
pressure.
coverage, and you have to be able to drop on the coverage, but you're expected to make plays at the line of scrimmage too, and range is a big thing, and these guys can just run. It's
Yep.
the key is training them to run to the right place, which at times. Now, this has been an issue because the defense is really young in a lot of areas, particularly in the secondary. And it's been an issue at times. But when you talk to the coaches and they talk about Mark Anthony Parker, the first thing they'll tell you is just how quickly he's picked up the defense. And he got playing time last year as well. Had a big game, another big game last season against USF, and he's just picked it up. The change has been Coleman Colley at the other linebacker spot, because he did not start the season. He was actually after the Temple game. There's been a lot of shuffling around on that side of the ball, and he became the starter there. And he's just a motor guy and just a range, and just the way he'll run sideline to sideline, it makes them versatile, which when you're playing a team like USF, and again playing a team like Memphis this week, those are the kinds of guys you need. They just need to make sure that physically they can do everything, but they got to make sure they understand their job in the defense, and it's been a growing process for a good part of this season.
Well, let's talk about Larry's other favorite part of the game, and that would be the kicking game. Nathan Kirkwood, it's a guy that you love it because you haven't asked him to do a lot, but when you've asked him to do something, he's done the job very well.
Yeah, and he has grown so much this season. Yeah, I think if you go back and look at last year, I think the coaching staff kind of lost some confidence in him. They just didn't feel comfortable turning to him, but he has made some huge kicks this year, and he's been pretty close to automatic. The only one he missed was kind of a Hail Mary kick that, like in 50 plus yards, that they just kind of threw him out there just because. But everything else, he's been on the money. He had huge kicks against USF, had an enormous kick. He doesn't make it against Temple. Navy doesn't win that game. So just knowing one of the things about Navy this year that we kind of expected this year was that they've played more close games. If you go back to last season, their average margin of victory, I think, was 12 points. Like until they played Oklahoma in the bowl game, they didn't have any wins that were within a score. So knowing that defenses will probably have better answers for the offense this season, you figure that Navy was going to be playing more close games, and knowing that you need a reliable place kicker, and Kirkwood's done the job. He's been really great.
All right, Mike, what's going to happen on Thursday?
That is a fine question, because when I look at this matchup, what strikes me is all the unknowns, because it's so much different than from last year. I think when you look at Navy and Memphis, just historically, this has always been a big game, and you guys were talking about this a little bit before I came on. But I know for Navy, it's been kind of like a greatness gatekeeper. Like if you can get by Memphis, because usually this game is at the beginning of the season, but if you can get by Memphis, that means okay, you're going to have a pretty good season. You know, it's kind of that's the measuring stick. So when you see how that game has gone. Memphis has really dominated this, and even with the loss last year, that it wasn't because of anything that Memphis's offense did wrong. I mean, they had 600 yards, so it was a big test. But the unknown here is how this year's version of Memphis's offense matches up against Navy's defense. I think because it's a much different offense this year. I mean, I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know, but in the past, Navy's coaches have been so preoccupied with not giving up the deep ball against Memphis that they've let Memphis run all over them. And I think that was a big factor in last year's game. But this year's Memphis team is a lot more about running. It's a lot more about the RPOs. It's a lot more about possession, and not that they're not capable of throwing deep, but they don't do it as often as they used to. And you wonder how does Navy respond for that? Because I mean, Tim Cramsey has owned Navy. So does he change what he's doing in this game? How's Lewis's ankle? Is he going to be as mobile as he can be? I think Navy's defensive line is a big factor in this game too. Just if he's not mobile, Memphis the last couple of weeks giving up a lot of sacks. How much pressure can Navy's defensive line get on Memphis without having to bring extra rushers? I think that'll be a big determinant in this game. And then on the other side of the ball, I'm not sure what Memphis's defensive game plan is going to be. I think last year Navy's coaches kind of had a good idea just because they were so bad. Navy was so bad the year before. They figured they'd see the same thing again. But after last season, the one thing that is that you're going to be seeing something different. And I know Coach Silverfield was asked about the Rice game earlier. And the defense that they used against Rice was very similar to what they did against Navy last year. But I actually think that was kind of that was kind of smoke and mirrors on his part for Navy, because there was not to take credit away from what they did schematically, but that was just a physical mauling that they did with Rice up front. They could have done anything in the back seven, and Rice still wasn't going to be able to move the ball in that game. So I think in this case, I think they're going to have something a lot different. And so the key for Navy is how long does it take you to figure it out and adjust? Because if you get behind Memphis and you're playing catch up the whole game because you had to take a drive or two to figure out what you want to do against this new look on defense, that's going to be it's hard to play catch up. So yeah, I think there are a lot of unknowns, and I mean, I'm excited to see it just from a coaching perspective because I think it's going to be just an interesting matchup.
Mike, tell Tiger fans how they can follow you up until the game on Thursday.
I am at Navy Bird Dog on Twitter. You can read my game preview over on themidreport.com. And if you really love me, then you can listen to me as the color commentator for Navy football on the Navy Radio Network.
Oh, that's right. Well, look forward to the trip to Memphis for you. And thanks so much for joining us as always. And we will talk to you next season, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Mike James from the Mid Report. Well, boys, last regular season game.
Yep.
These two teams have historically, this will be the second latest game the two teams have ever played. The latest game was in 2020 when they played on the 28th. Memphis has won 5 of the last 6 of the last 8, if you're one of these. I saw somebody totally off topic said that today, like, quit dividing this crap up. Just like, there's these arbitrary, in 9 out of the last 15 games that were played on Tuesdays in October, 6 of the last 8, Memphis has been victorious. Last year, Memphis kind of got in their feels a little bit because I think they got their butts kicked and got their feelings hurt. And
it took them a while to overcome that.
It did. And so, Landon, we'll do just kind of bold talk here, bold prediction, and then what we think is going to happen. Overview, what's your thought going into Thursday?
I really feel pretty good about this game, especially maybe better than you think somebody would feel that watched the game last year. And I think Mike made a lot of good points about how last season Navy was coming off a year where they were not good at all in offense, and they had a first-year offensive coordinator. And we heard it from Silverfield at his press conference this week how they had to pull Mercer film from 2023. There just wasn't any relevant tape. Well, now they have that tape from last year. They have it from this year. There's just has to be a much better understanding from the Memphis side of things of what they're going to get from Navy. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Navy, this thing, as we know, is one of the toughest things to prepare for. But I think, we could talk all day long about Silverfield, but I do think he does a very good job of having his guys ready to play regardless of the circumstances, whether they're in contention, out of it, no matter how many games they've lost, they're always going to have something to play for. So I don't think that's going to be an issue, and I really feel pretty decent about going into this.
You bring that up, Larry. We'll go to you next, but look at the Tulane game last year. I mean, Memphis knew that if they beat Tulane's backside, regardless of where they were at, that they were going to keep Tulane out of the championship game. That's something that they can certainly do on Thursday to Navy. Larry?
Well, yeah. I mean, they didn't keep Tulane out of the championship game, but they kept them from hosting it. And they certainly looked really cold playing Army. But more than anything, guys, like we talked about this a little bit off air, but if this was any other team, I would be really worried about our give a damn. But after what happened last year, I think the coaches and the players have a spot for what Navy did to us last year, and they feel like that we got sort of blindsided. And look, I've been there, where you get your butt kicked the year before, and if you think you don't remember it for the whole off season and all until you play them again. John, this reminds me very much about a Memphis team that went and lost to UConn. And I heard about it from the players and the coaches all that year. And then we beat the hell out of them in Memphis. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but guys, I do think this Memphis team is going to show up Thursday. And it would not surprise me at all if Memphis is very, very motivated.
Yeah, I mean, because there is a lot to the thought of what the hell do we have to lose? Like, and here's the other real talk about this. A lot of these guys are auditioning for jobs.
Yep.
And here's a chance Thursday night. You're the literal only thing on television. You're the only game in college football game on. I think the NFL games are done at that point.
No, there is a night NFL game.
There's a night game,
but it's the only college football game.
So you're the only college football game. It's an intriguing matchup. People like watching Navy. Navy will bring a little bit of a contingent. Not nearly as much as back in the days when we had the naval base and never played Navy. Go figure. But it's just one of those things that I think you're probably right there, Larry. I think that motivation and Landon, I think motivation is a little easier to find. And again, as you said, Landon, say what you want about Coach Silverfield. Circling the wagons is something he does pretty well.
For sure.
All right, bold prediction time. Larry, I will start with you.
Oh boy. Bold prediction. So my bold prediction is that Memphis will score 3 different ways. Score a touchdown 3 different ways. They will score a running touchdown, a passing touchdown, and then they will also score a defensive touchdown this week.
Okay. Landon?
You really put me on the spot with this one. I didn't have anything prepared.
That's
going in. Yeah, definitely more fun. Now that I'm sitting here thinking, okay, this is a weird one. I think Memphis will lead at the end of every quarter. I think it'll be wire to wire. I think they're going to take control of the game in the first quarter, and I don't think they're really going to give it up. And they'll end up winning by multiple possessions. That's what I'll say.
Wow, well, there we go.
That doesn't mean 14. That could mean 10, but that's what I'm saying.
It could mean 8, 9. It's multiple.
Right.
Sutton Smith returns a punt for a touchdown. That one's just for you, Jeb. Seriously, because I have no idea what's going to happen Saturday.
I really don't either. I mean, I could be so off with what I said. Yeah,
I'm going to steal Jeb's thunder and say that Sutton Smith's going to return a punt for a touchdown. Jeb, we're on the same page. No idea what's going to happen. What the hell? Let's see Sutton. Because all kidding aside, we've been kind of bagging on it, but he's had 2 like really close.
He has.
One guy grabbing a shoelace from returning a touchdown. Now for the fun part. So I was looking. The thing I do love about Navy Week. Let's look. Let me get back here because I got to get back on the page of the games. 306, 310, 321, 312, 305, 330, 330, 309, 257, 338. God bless the triple option. Those are John Maddox approved game times right there. So let's see. We start at 6, right?
6:30.
6:30. So we will look up at
10 o'clock.
Let's go 10:06 because game doesn't really kick off at 6:30. We'll go 10:06 p.m. Landon and the scoreboard at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium for the last time this season. We'll say
45-35 Memphis.
Okay, Larry.
I don't think it's going to be quite that. I don't think Navy's going to score quite that many points. I'm going to say 38-21 Memphis.
I have 35-24 Memphis. I think we're all in the same ballpark. It's just, are we, how's the score going to work out? All right, real quick, we would be remiss if we didn't touch on it. All the rumors are circulating. I'm not going to get into specifics here. Here's what I would say about these coaching searches. And let me start by saying, I feel for North Texas. They are
certainly
they're in a land that they've never been in before. This is Memphis's second go-round. Well, it'll be, I guess, third go-round now with Ryan. Tulane dealt with it with Willie Fritz. Alex Golish has been on everybody's short list, it seems like, since he started at USF. It's tough. It's a really tough thing to do. And I do think that you will be able to tell what the truths are to all this mess on Thursday, because I do think that especially early in games, if you think the coach is leaving, if you know something, you tend to check out a little bit, especially early. But again, I don't want to get into specifics, but I just want to remind people of a few things. Every coach loves it here, wherever they are. They're thrilled to be the coach. They can't imagine themselves anywhere else.
Yep.
They this is the job they waited for. They're going to continue to recruit kids for whatever school they're at currently. No coach is ever going to text you back and say, "Yeah, I'm leaving." No coach is, it's just I'm always, it's boggling to me that we go through this, and now with silly season, which is what we call it, we're not only tracking planes. I learned something else today. There's a site called Kalishi or something like that. That's like this gambling site or wagering site. Landon, you're the youth among us. You may know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
I know what you're talking about. It's kind of blown up
Yeah,
on
and
Twitter.
so
Yeah.
so now I got to watch this web-based online book to give like these odds that move, and it's just like, guys, can we just go back to the time where you're the coach until you're not the coach?
Yeah.
And all, I just would encourage all fans to do this. You want the guy that's leaving to leave it as good as he found it, or hopefully in better shape. Memphis is not a destination job.
No, but
Arkansas is not a
let me.
destination job.
Here's the thing, and so let me. When Ryan first got this job, John, you and I've talked about this many times. I thought the odds of him leaving for another job versus the odds of him being fired, I thought being fired. That was clearly probably going to happen. He has far exceeded my expectations in the 6 years that he's been here. The main impetus for his being hired, at least from what I was told back in the day, that's 2019, was that they wanted someone who was going to stick around. They had a little bit of fatigue with the coaches coming and going, all right? And so and they did that. He's been here 6 years. He's done a great job. He has done. We want to argue about he hasn't won a conference. Whatever, man. The guy has done a fantastic job the last 4 years, and you can't say anything else. If Ryan decides he wants to go, if he gets offered the Arkansas job, he should take it. If Ryan gets offered, I don't know, the Vanderbilt job, he should take it. This is silly season, but Memphis has been here before. And I hope whatever happens in the next week, which I guess here's an interesting question for you guys. So if Ryan leaves, does Memphis attract a sitting head coach, or do you guys think that we go the coordinator route again?
I think it would more than likely be the coordinator route. And I let me preface this by saying Memphis is definitely, I think, a better job than North Texas. But I read on Three's Pete Nakos's North Texas hot board today, and that was kind of the profile of the coaches on there. I think like Billy Napier was on there, and he fired SEC head coach, and then there were some coordinators like Colin Klein from Texas A&M, just names like that. I think those are the kind of guys that would be on the radar for Memphis if the job comes open.
Because here's the thing I will say about Ryan, and he's been divisive these last couple of years. There's no getting around that, because when you make public statements about here's what the program should be and you don't live up to it, but you know what, these guys are paid a lot of money, a hell of a lot of money, and they know nobody. Ryan said it today. I think nobody's more pissed off or disappointed than I am. And he wants to win. But I think Memphis kind of got lucky because the last two hires were relatively unheralded offensive-minded coordinators or coaches, with Justin, who was the, I think, co-head coach at
Co-OC at ECU.
And then Mike, who was at Arizona State.
Arizona State.
So, you go back, and I've seen some names thrown around, and I
we're not going to get into that yet. When he goes, we'll talk.
Here's what I think you're going to see over the next X number of days. The Egg Bowl is Friday. I think that you're going to see they're going to let Kiffin announce what he's going to do on Saturday on game day, which everybody feels some kind of way about it. I'm good with it, but other people, not so
Whatever,
much.
I don't care.
I think it's going to come out a little earlier, but I think
It will.
they're-
It'll come
It
out.
might it might leak before the game. Honestly,
it might leak. And I personally, if you held a gun to my head, I think he's going to LSU because
I
again,
agree. Me too.
you know, I have a buddy who's a USF.
That's what I've heard.
He's a USF guy, and he says, "Why would you leave the sanctity of Tampa for Auburn, Alabama?" And I said, "Well, number one, money.
Money.
Number two, he ain't going to Auburn because them books be crazy. But it's a job.
He's not going to Gainesville.
It's a job like when all the hullabaloo was about Mike leaving, and I think Ole Miss opened while Mike was here.
It did.
And Mike's not going to Mike's not going to Oxford. But when Florida
There's
State,
a lot of reasons for that. It wasn't happening.
When Florida State calls, I only had one response: "Can I come help you pack?"
Yeah, you need to go.
Even,
You got to go.
even as bad as it's been for him, that call's not going to come very often. And I think that's what you're looking at with Lane Kiffin could be the coach at Ole Miss forever. And if he decided he didn't want to be the coach at Ole Miss anymore, he'd go be the coach at Texas A&M forever. LSU ain't going to call all the time. You know, this is a chance to go get a big job.
Like, you realize that other than Kelly, go back to 2000, since 2000. All right, other than Kelly, every coach that has been at LSU won a national championship. Every single one. And we're talking for 25 years. Okay? So here's my point in all this, that is a job that people go, you can win a national championship. No, you literally can win a national championship there.
100%.
And it's not like if the stars align. Look, I love Tennessee. I don't love Tennessee, but I love a lot of people that love Tennessee. And in order for Tennessee to win a national championship, the stars sort of have to align, right? Things have to just fall. Not at LSU. LSU can just be badass and beat everybody, right? So here's the thing, guys. Kiffin is the first domino, right? Now, here's an interesting question. If Drinkwitz leaves for Florida, which could happen, I don't know, but it could, and you've got Missouri and Ole Miss open, what's the better job?
Ole Miss.
I think it's Ole Miss. I think it's closer than what some Ole Miss folks would like to admit, but I think it's Ole Miss.
I don't know, guys.
Well, it's Ole Miss.
I don't know.
It's Ole Miss for.
I'll say this. I think if you're going to just make a tier list of the SEC jobs, I think they're on the same level. I'll say that.
I look, for just what the fan expectations versus what you can reasonably achieve, Missouri's a better job. It just is. But I mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But either, my point in all this is there's going to be a whole lot of what if Kiffin leaves, then that's the first domino. Somebody's got to go to Florida. Somebody's got to go to Penn State. Somebody's got to, and that's where when we start saying, is Ryan going to leave? It's the bottom line is there's going to be so many openings that at some point he's going to be the guy that
the math just makes it make sense to say that he could leave. There's, like you said, there's just going to be too many open jobs. It's like they got to hire somebody.
Right. So we've got to hire somebody, and this guy has won at a high level. And somebody, I can't believe a word I heard today that somebody said Ryan wasn't a good recruiter. I can't even.
Somebody said that, and I'm like, oh my god! Like that's probably the only thing.
That's the most redeeming quality about Ryan Silverfield.
He's a top 5 recruiter in the country, and
not even close.
And somebody's going to pick up on that because. And the other thing, and this is the thing, God, I love about Ryan. If you ask people outside, forget inside, but you go outside the walls. Memphis is one of the most professionally run programs in the country.
1,000%. Absolutely.
That the reason kids, Ryan is obviously a great recruiter, and the reason kids want to come here, the nutrition program is top notch. The facilities have gotten better. The structure of the program prepares good kids for the next level. And that there's something to be said for that. Could
he runs it like a pro team.
absolutely.
And what I have said, and John, you actually were the first to say that, and you were absolutely right. And what actually happened was the college game has become more like a pro game, which perfectly suited Ryan. And so now when he runs this thing like a pro team, it just fits. Now that doesn't mean on the field. You're talking about off the field. On the field, he's still got some things to sort out, right?
Definitely.
But off the field, the off-season program, the training program, we don't have guys coming in. You don't see guys getting – we have some injuries. That's football. But I'm talking about you don't see a whole bunch of guys out of shape, getting hurt because they're out of shape, stuff like that. That's not going on. I'm just going to say,
nobody's blowing an ACL in July.
Right. Yeah, he runs this exactly. And so somebody's going to pick up on this. And if he goes to the right school, he could be extremely successful. Is he going to win an Natty? Maybe if everything falls right. But I don't know where he goes. I don't know what the right job is. I think somebody mentioned Vandy the other day. I'm like, that sounds like a good job for Ryan.
Well, but I want to wrap by saying this. I just want to say that
sure.
Kiffin's next, and I think that all of this dust will be settled by the time we do this show next week.
Yes,
I think about 85% of the jobs will be.
It's gonna happen very quickly.
Yeah,
it's a crazy time of year.
There will be one crazy one that we're not expecting.
Yep. I agree. There always is.
Somebody,
and if you want a hot take, Ryan Day.
That's not crazy at all, especially if they lose Saturday. I think what you're going to see there if they lose is Ryan's going to be ready to go somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like not whatever.
Where's Ryan to Memphis?
Coach O.
No, got to get old Hummer going there. All right, well, we're gonna stop right there. But
he had Coach O to Memphis and said that's it. We gotta wrap this up.
Yeah, I think this is where we need to stop. Landon, thanks so much for filling in for Brian tonight.
Anytime.
And thanks for everybody for joining us. And we will see everybody next week with the season wrap up. Será que él decide primo invalide.